This chapter was completely focused on Setsuna versus Niko, which is honestly pretty good so far, although I think we have at least, well not at least, at most actually, 2 chapters left. Although I do have the expectation that this won't conclude, but if it does conclude, I think Setsuna is losing in like the next 2 chapters. But I'm glad that this fight got its own breathing room completely, because we get to see a lot more of how Niko has taken the Niko style forward. And that was with the Niko style leech. This technique sort of reminds me of that Baki slap whip thing that you can do that could rip off some people's like parts of their skin and just causes tremendous amount of pain. That's what Niko's new move actually reminds me of, and he even says that he's used it to someone, or whenever he's used it on someone long enough, they end up going insane, basically off of the pain. They can no longer tolerate that technique, which makes it honestly a pretty toxic and trolling technique. Now the reason why I use that type of wording, even though Niko calls it petty, is that this fight I think shows just how impressive Setsuna is, because he didn't go down, he didn't fall over like a fly, looking at Ryan when he fought Edward by himself. Setsuna has been performing, in my opinion, pretty good. He's been able to catch Niko off guard a few times, but Niko has not been really going that seriously against him. We can tell because he's kind of trolling him with this technique. He even admits that, hey, this isn't one of his bigger techniques. He says it's a pretty small one, because he says in some part during the chapter that, hey, it's moves like this that make the bigger ones shine. So he has a lot more in the bag, essentially, and he's probably holding out on Kiryu. Although Kiryu hasn't used Fallen Demon yet, so both of them haven't gone all out, but I would say Niko is holding back a lot more. But despite back against each other, the fight is pretty good. Again, Setsuna managed to perceive what is happening to him, put 2 and 2 together, and he seems to almost land a solid hit on Niko at like the end of the chapter, which would be his only really clear hit, because he hasn't actually had a clean hit on Niko as of yet. The only one that came close was the Rakusha, the palm thing, where he hit Niko near like his ribcage or below his ribcage, where he used the double blink. But even then it was like a trade, and of course Niko was using, the armored kata from the Niko style. And so Niko has been able to basically cope with everything Kiryu has basically thrown at him. While on the other hand, it seems as though Niko is doing a bit more damage to Kiryu. Especially with Leech, he's probably feeling a bit more pain, although Leech wouldn't necessarily reflect raw damage in a sense, although it is very painful. Another thing that I thought was very interesting was that this chapter kinda showed that Niko might have kinetic vision, kinda like Koga. The reason I say this is because there's a moment where he focuses up and basically the panels, basically the colors invert. And we've seen this effect before. We've seen it with Koga, specifically when Agito was, of course, trying to hit him while Lolong and Kano were trying to teach him how to sense the inception of intent, basically. And so we've seen this type of effect before. And so I'm going to go with my gut feeling when I say, of course, Niko, he has special eyes, and I think he might have kinetic vision as well. I think this is the very first amount of evidence that will build towards this idea. But besides that, there's really nothing else to talk about. It was a short chapter, pretty good on both sides. I like the performance on both sides. I think this fight has a lot more to offer, although I do think it will be cut short, or Niko will end it pretty shortly, one of the two. And a part of me is almost glad we didn't get any focus on Akoya, because whatever Akoya is going through, a lot of people are looking forward to that. A lot of people are looking forward to seeing Akoya get messed with or potentially die. So I think leaving that to, let's say, maybe I would hope the later part of the next chapter, or maybe the early part of the next chapter. I don't want it to really take that much of time because I'm more interested in this. But yeah, that's the review. I like the chapter. Pretty good way to start off the year, in my opinion. Starting off strong with Niko versus Setsuna. And yeah, that's it. Don't forget to like, sub, all that fun stuff. Until next time, take it easy.